Fading type in Photoshop. Fading type is when type appears to originate in the darkness and then gradually get brighter, or type appears to fade away. So it's really a transitional effect. And it can be applied to an entire type layer or just a portion of type. The key thing here is that type does not have to be rasterized to create the effect. The tools that we are going to use in fading type, of course, a type layer, which I'll create in a minute. We are going to use a layer mask, and we're going to use the gradient tool. Now remember, the gradient tool is grouped with the paint bucket tool. So if the paint bucket tool was the last tool that you used, you might see that on top. So gradient tool is in that group. All right, so let's do faded type. We're going to create a type layer. Let's create a type layer. And I'm going to use my move tool. Remember, the quick key for the move tool is V, so I could just press V on my keyboard and bring things back. So there's my text. If I wanted to, with my show transform controls, I could do some controlling here. I could do some transformations here to make this stretch a bit if I wanted to. Okay, so it's up to you and how you want this to look. And I could really stretch this out. Okay, so there's my text. I'll go ahead and apply this. Now I want to add a layer mask, and I'm going to do that by using the Add Layer Mask tool, which is right here at the bottom of my Layers panel, Add Layer Mask. And that puts a layer mask on this text layer. Now I need to select the Gradient tool. So gradient tool over here in the toolbar, remember. Once I select the gradient tool, I need to select what type of a gradient. So I need to click the gradient picker list arrow right here up in the options bar, and I want to do the black to white. All right, so I can double click that to close the little box and now have a black to white gradient be active. I also can choose linear here. There are different types of gradients that you can apply. I'm going to stick with linear. Double check that you have the layer mask active with the little white corners. That tells me this is active. And now I can click and drag. And I can click and drag in whichever direction I want. If I want my gradient to hold straight, I hold down the Shift key to sort of constrain that. And there, now my text is fading out. If I want it to go the other way, let's undo that and drag it from top to bottom. So look what's happening with my mask. Remember, where there's black, it's hiding. Where there's white, it's visible. Okay? So that's a fun way that you can just fade type, whether it's fading in, fading out, whichever way you want it to work. I can also do effects to this. I can add styles to this. I can do a lot of really cool things with my text. So I could, if I wanted to, go back and make my text be active, not my mask. And I could put, again, a, say, drop shadow on this. And then you can see the effect kind of weird up here. But you can get that kind of effect where it's popping out. Okay? And remember, effects can be turned on, turned off, which is the cool thing. Let's turn this one completely off and create a new type layer and just show how you can do some other effects here. So if I have treats, let's just put it down here at the bottom. I'll use my space bar to get my hand tool, get things adjusted here. I can apply a layer style, any of those layer styles like we mentioned. I can set the opacity up here like we mentioned with screening the text. But I also can apply a style with the style panel. So if I go under window and I look for styles right down here, and I'll just pull this out so you can see this a bit better. Now if you've worked in, say, Illustrator, you might be familiar with some of these styles. Let's make this be a little bit larger so that you can see. Styles are pre-made, packaged effects. So you can apply any of these styles to your text as well. You also have several libraries, and some of them are just specific text effects that can be appended or added to the current styles that you have. So here I just added some more. And with my text active, I can click on one of these and look what it does. Very quickly, you can get some interesting effects by these pre-made styles. Now, styles are something you can go online to find as well. Adobe offers a lot of really cool things. Some of them are more subtle, some are more intense. Some of them might not show up so much on little letters when we have just individual characters here. So this is something that you can play with. And now along with this, look at the effects that were, this was a bevel emboss, a gradient overlay, and a drop shadow. Now I could actually go and play with the opacity and make it look almost like some gel on there. Okay, so you can mix and match. You can do all kinds of really cool things with your text. Whether you play with your styles or you play with a mask with a gradient to fade text in or out, up or down, however you want to do it, you can create some really neat effects with your type. Remember that subtle effects are the best. Don't go crazy overboard and use everything that you've learned in this week's lesson. Pick and choose, select them cautiously and wisely to go with your overall aesthetic and to create the correct graphic resonance.